Hello everyone, welcome to Indulge, the new Indian Express. Food is such a love language. It brings people together across cultures, backgrounds and geographies. Today, we are here in Hyderabad, excited for a fantastic 7-course pop-up dinner curated by the former Australia MasterChef judges, Chef Mehigan, culinary critic Matt Preston and Chef George Calombaris. Join us as we speak with these 3 culinary geniuses to learn more about the event, catch glimpses of their remarkable journeys and gain insights into their passion for food. So first of all, thank you so much for joining with us.
Pleasure.
It's great being able to talk to you, sitting here.
We like being together as well.
Please tell us about this is just to start with, about the 7-course meal that you're planning to come up with.
We'll dig into a little bit.
Yeah,
so we, Ganesh, thank goodness, they're a great partner. They've brought us back out to India. So we've got 4 dinners. 2 cities. We've got a masterclass in Bengaluru as well at the Asia Mall, the Phoenix Asia Mall. So we're very excited to be back together. It gives us a chance to talk a lot, eat a lot, feed a lot of people. We've got 7 delicious courses. We brought a lot of Australian ingredients this time. So we've got Australian winter truffles from Flinders Truffles. We've got Yarra Valley salmon caviar. We've got Matt's using Davidson plum in his famous savoury bush tucker tea. Is that what we call it? Close? All right, he's going to let me do it.
I've got a mic, so I can't speak.
Okay. We've got, what else? We got Vegemite, the classic Australian spread that we put on everything. Bought quandongs. I bought wattle seed. We've bought lemon myrtle. So, yeah, we're going to give diners a little generosity, a little taste of Australia, a little taste of Greece from George, a little sophistication, a little generosity from Matt. And we hope everybody has a fabulous time. It's like dinner with the 3 of us. Oh, and pairings from the Ardmore legacy.
Oh yeah, that.
I forgot.
Important.
Very important. Next.
Right. So I see a lot of Greek influence, taste from like South Asian flavors also, and even Australian flavors. How did you come up with this blend? And how do you expect Hyderabadis to like it? What was your thought behind it?
I think there's a few things. Number one, what we do, we have this group chat, and before we come over, and that's really lovely because we start throwing ideas, and we like to, as Australians, we like to take the piss out of each other. Do you get what I mean? We like to have a laugh, So there's a bit of that, but there's a bit of banter, but then we get serious, and Gary pulls us into line. Yep. He's been here, I think he's about to become, an honorary.
Modi's
going to give you a passport.
Notice,
yeah. And so he knows all the local ingredients, which is great. It's really important for us because the last thing we want to do is come here and try and use tomatoes when they're not in season, they're not ripe, they're not from here, and they're just flavourless. So it's important for us. So having Gary's, understanding of all the ingredients is fabulous. We've got local guys making local stuff for us as well. So in Mumbai, there's, what's the name of the Spotted Cow from Marjorie making a burrata for one of Matt's courses.
85 grams.
Beautiful. That's going to be paired with pineapple, so it's going to be super tasty, super yummy. And also taking into consideration that as we create a menu for India, we've got to pay respect to the fact that they're, try and keep it egg-free. Think about all those aspects. So
a
lot of vegetarians.
I was coming to that.
Yeah. So we've had, I think, enough. We've been here enough.
Some people that don't drink alcohol.
Yeah.
You don't drink alcohol.
Absolutely, just for the last hour. It's exciting. It's nice to piece it together, and it's nice to get a bit of I think more than just the food, it's about the night. It's about us all being together, being out there, chatting with people, and it's also a great opportunity for the local kids in the kitchen, the aspiring young chefs, to hang out with our chefs, to learn something new, and also hopefully we inspire them. So when we leave, they feel, they can do this thing called hospitality.
Right.
I think the idea is, the dream for us is to come back in 5 years' time and we're going to their restaurants. That's the dream.
That'd be nice.
And we're already seeing the guys who we were with last year are already working in top hotels and doing really well. So that's exciting. That's very much part of it.
Yeah, I was actually going to ask you that such kind of events, how do you think that will help people in knowing or getting more exposure towards the global cuisines?
Look, I think that there are a couple of things there. One is, the nature of Konosh is food lovers sharing advice and ideas and food with other food lovers, which is the essence of what these dinners are about. We get as much out of these dinners by, working with local ingredients, talking to local food lovers about where to go and have the best biryani or the best paratha gosht or whatever, that's where to have the best mandi. So it's a fair exchange, I think. So that's important. I think the other thing is that we've always been, in all the TV we've done, from MasterChef onwards, we've always been very keen to talk about our love of global cuisine, I'll rephrase that, our love of cuisine in all these different places. We all travel a lot to eat, and we've made friends around the world who help us eat better, show us new ideas, and then we bring those ideas back. So really, we're here to celebrate the amazing stuff that you have to eat every day in Hyderabad. We're only here for, 5-6 days. It's too short, because there are, how many great biryanis are there here in Hyderabad? Maybe 20?
More, I'm sure.
I think that'd be interesting, because I seem to think that most Hyderabadis have a pretty good idea of where the best 5 are. Because there'll be a few outliers, but there's certain names keep coming up again and again. What's your favourite biryani in Hyderabad?
Classic chicken biryani.
Yeah, but where? Where?
So there are like 2-3 places.
Which is your favourite?
Biryani from Toshadan.
Yeah. Yep.
Then
Yep.
Mehigan. And I love biryani from Hyderabad House.
Yeah, good. Yes.
Yeah.
Good.
And to an extent, Pista House as well. I don't know if I'm supposed to say.
No.
Like,
But that's
it was just an impromptu reality.
yeah,
But
we went to
these
Pista
are the
House.
places I prefer.
I went to Pista House.
Pista House, we're going for lunch today to Pista House.
You must try.
We're going
from
now. We're
Hyderabad
going now.
House in
We're going right
Mehigan.
now. After this finishes, we're going to Pista House. Just so you know. So that's So that's what we get excited about, because George has never. George hasn't seen. Things barbecued over a sheet of stone. It's such a unique local attempt.
Yes.
And so he's excited about that. So we'll go and do that as well. So as well as
Right.
us sharing our ideas but we also want to celebrate the amazing things you have here. It's a
Yeah.
lovely thing. Sometimes people, when they live in a place, take what they have for granted. They go, "Oh, it's just local food," and you go, "No, you don't understand. This is very special."
Right. So, Chef, we know that you have traveled a lot and you keep coming back to India time and again. And I'm sure that you know how the food is prepared here, the different techniques and all. How has that shaped your personal style of
I
cooking?
love it. I love Indian food in all its complexity. I mean, Matt uses a great example always, which we've all started using, is that, even yesterday a journalist said, "What's your favourite Indian dish?" And we're like, "Oh, come on. Give us some reference. What's your favourite dish from Kohima in Nagaland, for example?" Like, drill in. Because when it's like saying, "What's your favourite European dish?" It could be anything from Scandinavia to Sicily. It doesn't make any sense, right? So I love that complexity. And I've also, the more I've visited, and particularly last year, because I filmed for National Geographic, so I did a lot of travelling around. A lot of it's cultural, historical, understanding some of that history and reading. I've read a lot now. I've even read a lot of Indian fiction, because I just love. It's really complex, really interesting. It's all entwined with history, culture, and food is a really big part of that. So that's for me. That's what I find fascinating, and I keep coming back for that very reason.
Do you often, while cooking at home, do you often use Indian spices?
Oh, yeah. I mean, my pantry at home has changed completely in the last 2 or 3 years, particularly. Like, George and I first visited in 2013 together, and it changed then. But now, if you open my cupboards, my wife actually says, please, can we just have roast chicken, no spice, simple Anglo-Saxon fare. And my daughter and I, who I've trained very well, were like, maybe not. Maybe fish moile. You know what I mean? So, very different.
Right. So, Chef George, I once heard you talking about the influence that your mother and your grandmother had, in strengthening your interest in the culinary world. So, what do you think about some timeless recipes and, some ingredients that they would promote during that time? Do you think that people have been evolving a lot or experimenting a lot and they are drifting away from those timeless recipes or dishes?
I think it depends what part of your, culinary journey you're in. When you're a young chef, you just want to, you've got different, things you want to achieve. I was just in Cyprus now, and I'm sitting at a place eating it's watermelon season, and watermelons, they're different sizes, different shapes, different varieties. It's incredible, and we're eating that with 5 different aged halloumis that were done in a different process. Now, in Australia, you pretty much get very stock standard halloumi, and I was blown away, and I've never seen it like that before. And, I've been I'm 45. I started cooking professionally when I was 18. And that's what I love about it so much. So timeless recipes, important to hold on to them. But it's also, let's not tie people up and say, you must just do it that way. There's, as long as it's delicious, and it's yummy, that's really important. And yeah, it's always important to respect tradition as well.
Can you dig into that halloumi, because I'm now interested?
Like the aged stuff, is it squeezed? No, and dark, like to the point where they leave it out. They don't put it in the fridge. They leave it out. It's insane. It gets funky and really interesting. And they shave it thin with icy cold watermelon. Nice. The combos.
So not cooking it?
No. You shave it. Shave it really thin with a knife. And
we want to eat that now, don't we?
So yeah, that's I think what's wonderful. And when you say about obviously my grandmother born in Cyprus, so to be able to go there and see the influences of the Venetians, the Ottomans, it's so you're having raviolis of pasta made with water and flour, obviously influenced by the Venetians, stuffed with grated halloumi and dried mint, and as a chef, you would dry mint, you've got to use fresh, but there's a reason for the dry mint in that application, and it makes sense. So having an open mind is wonderful.
What's the reason for the dry mint?
I reckon it was probably preservation back then, but I just think it tastes better.
They use a lot of dried mint in Turkey as well. That's really interesting. It's really interesting that some Greece normally favours fresh lemon, fresh mint. Yeah. Turkey, dried mint. Yeah. Delicious ingredients.
We can talk for hours. Great. Next question.
Chef Matt, I know you've been a critic and you have been an author as well, and also you've extensively travelled around the world. What do you think? But you've also travelled to India. How do you feel about coming to Hyderabad? And what do you think is special about the Indian food that that makes people excited all over the globe?
Well, I think Gary puts it so beautifully. He says that Indian food is not Indian food. Indian food is a food of 1956 different countries. A masala will change. The souring agent will change. This is like digging a small hole, and then the more you dig, the more you find you want to dig out. You keep on going and going because there's always something else to taste. There's always another idea. Some stuff you'll just taste and go, okay, that's interesting. Some stuff you'll take back, and it'll find its way into a cookbook or into a recipe for Australian, and then they will go, this is delicious. And they go, well, that's basically an Andhran dish, or that's basically a Ralsimba dish, or that's basically a Nissan dish. So that's exciting. Travel is always about, the more you travel, the more points of connection you have with food in other treatments, whether it's the use of zucchini, for example, would be a great thing. There's a Greek way, there's an Italian way, there are all these different ways. That's exciting. So travel's always about, at the end of the day, trying something else that's tasty. That's why I travel. I travel for something where you just go, how delicious is that? How delicious is that? I'm not a big fan of the other way, which is, how weird is that? It needs to primarily, number one, tasty, and then if there's a technique or it's a weird ingredient that make delicious, that's okay. But a bit of eel, grilled, delicious.
I would like to know your views on the fusions that people are creating these days.
Oh, infusions, because that's really, 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 really modern fusion, really modern, because. Do you support the fusion? We're in the home of fusion right here. Dried fruits, nuts, apricots, all these great signature dishes that you have here, Kwani Kamethi. That comes from, the apricots come from Afghanistan, the mandi is Emirati, is Arab, as we move, George is talking about Cyprus. The influence of Cyprus is Venetian, it's Turkish, it's Greek, it's all these different influences. Before the Portuguese monks came to Goa, there was no chili being used, was there? Vindaloo is wine and garlic. It's is it a Portuguese dish? Is it an Indian dish? It doesn't matter. it's a delicious dish.
There's no
So
tomatoes in Italy.
there were no pizza. But we think of pizza, to spaghetti bolognese. All these different things. Avocado, beans. We're constantly having new things. So I think the idea, assuming it's delicious, I don't mind. And there's something really exciting when you try, and we're all the same. If we have something, a combination, Vietnamese mint and dates, nutmeg and leeks. You try something you've never had it before. You go, oh, that's good. That's good. And actually, there's something. This I think is a great joy about doing this event. Gary's doing a dessert with quandong, which is an Australian native fruit. They're kind of quite sour, and in order to do that, he has to cook the quandongs in orange juice and sugar. So that's great. They're delicious, right? They're going to be with like a panna cotta, but left over is this syrup that's sweet and it's got the sourness of the quandong. So we're going, let's not throw that away. Let's turn that into a cocktail. Let's mix that with some of the Ardmore. Let's make a quandong sour with it. So that we're all getting excited and trying. That's delicious. Maybe it needs more lemon juice. So that's the joy about you travel to somewhere, but then your mind travels further.
Right. But then on that
So
note,
fusion's not new. It's 3,000 years
Yeah.
plus.
5,000 years.
Confusion is bad.
Civilized.
Putting a cheeseburger on a milkshake with
That's
a with
just
a
rubbish.
donut on top.
That's
It's just
not
rubbish.
fusion.
It's
That's
just a
just-
rubbish
that's
idea.
just Instagram
It looks
based.
good, okay, and it's kind of, oh wow, that's crazy. It's like, no, it's not. It's stupid.
so see, food is something which is connected to the sentiments of people, right? People think about like food is like an emotion for a lot of people here also.
Food, I think,
And if somebody goes ahead and does, something like fusing it with some other ingredient or something like that, people don't like take it very positively often. So
people can get very, and George should talk about this because when the first ever dinner that George did, Greek dinner, he was a modernist chef, very best young chef in Australia, and we did as part of the Melbourne Food and Wine Festival at the time of the Olympics, George did a Greek dinner. And it was funny, we had all these great Greek chefs from Australia come. George, how did they react to the food? I loved it, it was delicious. I could see where the fingerprints, where it was coming from, but...
Yeah, no, it was, it was... I did a sweet moussaka and they were like freaking out. And again, as I said, what we don't want to do is put shackles around young chefs and go, you must just do that. We want to allow them, you know what? It's okay to fall over. It's okay to make a mistake. It's okay. As long as you learn from it and you improve on it. And, the greatest chefs in the world have had more failures than successes. Hence why they're some of the greatest chefs in the world. Because, if you just want to copy it out of a book and do, well, that's fine. That's the type of chef you are. But, I'd rather be that one that has try something a little bit different and something a little bit interesting. I brought with me from Greece, because a chef gave me the other day, okra, which is a very traditional Greek dish. You cook it in tomato sauce, right? But they've done it in the style of kimchi. I was blown away, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to see the boys. I can't wait. Any chance you can give me some, Krivak? It's sitting in the hotel room tonight. I've got to bring it down so we can have a little nibble. That for me is so exciting to be able to share that, especially, we don't see each other as much as we used to. We had 11 years where we saw each other more than our wives. Yeah, every day, every single day, talking about food, eating food, talking about food, eating food, arguing about food. It's brilliant. Yeah. So when we do come together, it's chaos, and it's good chaos.
I don't know if we answered the question.
What was the question?
It was about fusion. Fusion's okay. That's what we're saying. Fusion's okay. It's been happening for thousands of years. And you know what? Traditionalists always worry that they're going to lose, the essence of something. It's a lot of these dishes have been around for so long and held so closely by families that they'll get passed down. And even when we were on MasterChef, it was all about talking about preserving those family recipes, then also thinking beyond them and where you might take them for the next generation.
For example, we use a lot less. For example, now we use a lot less flour in our cooking in Australia. Every sauce was always flour thickened. We don't. We now thicken stuff but with slow cooking, and spend time and heat. In the old days in Australia, the Italian cheese Parmesan would come pre-grated in a cardboard tube. And I remember Gary saying when he started MasterChef, all I want to do is get people in Australia to eat real Parmesan, shaved from a wedge, grated from a wedge, and not the stuff out of the cardboard tube, which is horrible. That's the step on. So it's that advance from having a you know, a cheap instant coffee to having a properly made coffee. You know, there are lots of examples, I'm sure, in your life of what you ate as a kid that you know it's changed and evolved and made better. Yeah, you love it. Yeah. They love the instant coffee. I don't understand.
All right, come on.
So since you said that you talk food, it's always that you guys are dealing with food. So there's this different question on another note. Chef Gary, we would like to know, what is it that you enjoy the most apart from food? What are the other activities?
Well, when I finish doing this little tour, I'm going up to the Himalayas to ride a motorcycle up in Leh Ladakh
Wow.
and up onto the Chantang Plateau. So I'm really excited about that. So I'm joining the Royal Enfield adventure, basically. So yeah, I love motorcycles, race motorcycles. I'm getting a bit old for it now, so I'm kind of looking at this, because when you come off, it's like when you ride a horse, it hurts. You know, so as you get older, you tend to avoid it. So I'm not thinking this is maybe the last time, but it's an adventure that I want to do. But outside of that, I travel a lot, so being at home is a real pleasure. Like September, I've pretty much got nothing on. We were talking about my wife and I going overseas, and then we've gone, you know what? Nah, I want to stay in the garden. It's spring, plant some vegetables, take the dog for a walk, you know, just chill, cook. I love cooking at home now because I don't have restaurants, and I never cooked at home and enjoyed it when I had restaurants. Now I love tinkering in the kitchen. So
Is there any Indian dish that you like?
Lots
An
of
Indian
Indian dishes.
go-to dish that you
lots of
often
Indian
make
dishes.
at home?
Like, for example, you mentioned vindaloo. In my house, I make a pretty good vindaloo. I've never fed you guys it. Fish mollets are regular on my menus. Uppams. I make a really cool uppam. My wife loves egg uppam with a podi. So, yeah, the little things like that are regular appearances in various different curries. I made a chettinad chicken curry, and I went, gee, that's another favourite. And I actually have to follow the recipe. I still don't have it, even though I've travelled to India a lot and I love spice and I've eaten so many different dishes. I'm always disappointed in myself when, like, I might have an incredible dish here, and then I go back and I make it and I go, oh, it's not quite right. It's not NRI, not really Indian. It's not quite right. So, yeah.
I was just going to ask you that, is there any dish that you just
Is a
can't
challenge?
get? Right? Yeah, that's a challenge.
All the fermented stuff, like the medu vada, for example. So little vada, the uppams, for example, took a while for me to understand. Like any cook, like when you make bread, and some of the understanding the texture, understanding how the bubbles feel, even how the ladle sounds when you tap it into the bowl. I know it sounds silly, but like a dump, like a really, it's light, it's fluffy, it's good. The temperature, all these kind of things make these little things make a big difference. And so some of the Indian breads, like Ramali roti or Malabar parota, things like this, that I think I can do. I really need to practice much, much more. I've got a video on my Instagram of a young man we were in Madurai in Tamil Nadu, and he was just making bun parota. Just effortlessly, like tissue paper, every 30 seconds he would make a beautiful, puffy, air-filled parota. And when you eat that, it's like from the angels. And then if I try that at home, it's not from the angels, it's from the devil. Huh?
No, but then you can practice and...
But practice is
by
like anything.
Yeah.
Or it's if you just get on a plane, you go to the place.
Yeah, and enjoy
This
it.
is why we travel. We travel because Gary can never get the 10,000 hours that young man has got practicing that. He's never going to be as good as that. And it's like, why do a pale imitation? Get on a plane, go there, try it. And that's what travel's just
All about.
the great joy. The great joy.
Sense of
To
place
go
and
there
enjoyment.
and to have an expert in something do that thing for you.
Enjoy it,
And
yeah.
it may only cost you, 60 rupees. It may be super cheap. Some of my best experiences have been that I've written about recently have all been really cheap experiences. I mean, like, they've not been fancy $1,000 meals in fancy restaurants. They've been amazing prawns, a really good roti. They're the joys. Yeah.
Right. Chef George, you spoke about young chefs and, how this whole creative process of cooking goes about, trying, testing and stuff like that. So what is your take, or what do you think about the role of social media these days in the lives of young chefs or people who are interested in cooking?
You've got to use it as another tool in a positive light. It's a demanding craft. It's a wonderful craft. I'll never change any part of it. I'm very grateful for the highs and the lows. And you've and
Of
if
being
you
a chef.
of being a chef, you know, but you've got to. It depends where you want to go with it, and I've also accepted the fact that there's just some people that just want to be chefs. They want to come in the morning. They want to do a certain job and just do that all day, and then go home at night time. There's nothing wrong with that. It's up to you where you want to take it. The great thing now is I really love and there's a lot of great platforms out there on social media that talk about the mindfulness of being a chef, because probably when I started there wasn't that outlet for us to talk about that stuff, and definitely when Gary started there was nothing like that. So it's good now that in an industry that can drive you down a path of drinking lots because you want to, you finish at midnight, you want to go and, release, drug influence. Let's be straight, there's you can go down a bad path. So it's good now that we can talk about it and support each other, and make sure we keep each other all on the right track, because it is, as I said, it's a demanding job. You're on your feet, you've got to use your brain. It's a craft that demands every sense.
Right.
And most importantly, that one up there.
Yeah. Right. Also, there's a question which is related to this. So, with social media, we all have a platform to showcase our talent, or there's a visibility for each and everyone out there. So, do you think that also, having said that, food industry is booming? So, say if we talk about Hyderabad, also here also there are many people doing very interesting things when it comes to food. So, the young chefs that are there, or if not the chefs, the people, the food enthusiasts who are into cooking and who want to go out there, make a mark in the industry, being called as a chef, do you think that it is now an easier place for them, or?
I'm not fussed what you want to call yourself. What determines a chef, I don't care anymore. As long as you are authentic, as long as you are being authentic, not just doing it because you want to get some clicks, you're doing it because it's real. That's it. That's where I'm at. I probably used to be in the old days when I was a young chef going, oh, look, they never did what I did. I was in the kitchen, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I don't care. As long as if your thing is making the most amazing baklava, and that's what you celebrate every day, and it's, that's your thing, go for it. And if you love it and enjoy it, tell the world about it. That's awesome. And, I was showing Gary before, I've just forgotten the lady's name, an Australian lady who's travels throughout the US barbecuing. And I found some of her stuff really interesting, and I was showing Gary. It's when it's just done because, and be respectful on social media. Yeah. Don't use it to crucify other people. It's not nice, because you wouldn't do it face to face to them. So that for me is a no-go zone. And as soon as I see that on my social media, I just delete. Don't even bother. Sometimes I'll have a little crack, but I delete.
Yeah.
Not interested. Stay behind. Don't be nice. Be kind. World is, we've got to be kind. That's important as well.
True.
It's important to remember that the companies that run social media run so to make a profit. They don't run so because out of the goodness of their heart. So it's important to use those media for your purposes, not for them. That's the rule. That's the rule. Don't what they think favours their business, not necessarily you. So as long as you're wise to that and you acknowledge that, I think the democratization of food media through social media is fantastic. But the recent change in algorithms aren't necessary to the benefit of that. I may be obsessed by your love of Bumperota. That may be the one thing and I want to see whatever you post on Bumperota, but I'm not going to see everything. Even though I follow you, I'm not going to see everything. That to me seems wrong. It should be about, social media should be about building community and about finding those little niche areas that you're really obsessed by. That's what's exciting about it. And then DMing people and having the conversation and making it a face-to-face and a personal thing. Social media should never, ever replace face-to-face interaction and the enjoyment.
Right.
Use it to find fellow ravioli makers in Hyderabad and then meet up and make ravioli together in someone's kitchen. This is what it's about. That's the joy. So I think if you can, be the positive change to share skills and knowledge and activities with other people who share the same loves as you. That's That's what it should be about. It's a tool for encouraging connection.
Is there anything that you want, like you think people think about it a certain way and you want to sort of
I'll tell
like,
you.
like-
I'll tell you.
yeah,
All right. I argue with my Italian
I see.
mates. I argue with my Italian mates all the time because I like on my marinara. I like to grate a little bit of parmesan, and they go nuts at me.
Bear in mind, the marinara with seafood.
With seafood, sorry, with seafood. So, even just some prawns with tomato sauce and pasta. I like a little parmesan, little pecorino. I like it. And they yell at me. What are you doing? You can't do that. But I go, hang on a second. You'll make a pizza, put tomato sauce, bocconcini or mozzarella, and anchovies on it. Isn't that seafood? And those little. So you know what? Whatever tastes good and you like it, go for it.
Oh,
There shouldn't be like.
Is that what you mean? Is that a
okay,
fair
yeah.
comment?
But that's a very different perspective towards that answer. I did not expect that,
That's
but
a good one.
yeah, that's a good
I
one.
think
Last book I wrote was about food myths, busting food myths. There are so many of them. They get perpetrated by people who don't do their research, and then it becomes a reality. So you think that lemon meringue pie comes from this, which American lemon meringue pie comes from one place, one town. It doesn't. There's no proof it does. And you actually dig down, you find it comes from somewhere else, and it's not made by a nice white middle class lady. It's made by a previous slave who was freed and opened up a boarding house where Abraham Lincoln stayed. So there are those myths the whole time. The misappropriation of credit is everywhere. And World of Flavour, Matt Preston, available online. Buy it, cheap. Did the guy that died recently invent tiramisu? Everyone says he did. Everybody
just
said
died, apparently.
he just. Yeah, everyone said it was him. But where? Who said that? He did. In an earlier article, it was actually his female boss who came up with the core idea, and he completely forgot that. So there's all these things.
we have butter chicken.
What about butter chicken? Yeah.
Butter chicken, who invented
Who invented butter chicken? Do you want to go to the law court and decide that one? Who invented butter chicken? Was it?
You can go to court.
No. Oh yeah. No. It's still in the court case. Still, of course, it has not been decided.
Great publicity for them both, isn't it?
Not if people are going to Galati's or Havermore for the best butter chicken, Maybe going to a restaurant rather than getting takeaway.
I like it. Are we enough of food myths?
Yeah. Is there a spice, an Indian spice or a dish from India that you want to promote outside as well? And
Journalists ask us this all the time. I'm sure there's a part of the Indian community that's sick to death of hearing, how should we promote Indian food to the rest of the world? It's happening. There are at least 30 chefs that I could mention right now that are doing all incredible things and cook far better than I do and are far better qualified to answer all of these questions because there is a groundswell of incredible food happening in India. And there are obvious reasons. Better logistics and supply of ingredients, kind of unleashing you mentioned it, a young population that are looking for something new and interesting to do. Whether it's in the technology space or in the artisan space, growing something different, or whether they're chefs. So there's just so much going on. What I actually really love, and I remember when I was filming last year, I remember asking a young tech assistant on the film set, how do you feel as a young Indian, like right now, because the elections were coming up, they've happened, and the sense I got was just this wonderful kind of confidence and optimism in all areas. Does that make sense?
yeah.
So these questions about, what would you like to take to the rest of the world? It's not for me to answer. It's happening.
Oh,
all right? It's already happening. People on the previous question about social media, people are now looking at what Avinash Martins are doing or Varun Totlani's doing or, Shahzad Hussein's doing or Pratik Sadhu's doing up in Himachal Pradesh and actually taking ideas from them and putting them on their restaurants. Put them in their restaurants.
Right.
Happened.
The difference is 20 years ago, the best Indian chefs, the media would tell you, were not in India. They were outside. They were in London or they were in New York. Yeah, you can see that by your judges on MasterChef India. Nowadays, the best Indian chefs are in India, I think. There's some great Indian chefs outside of India, but all the names that we're excited about, I'm coming back in November to eat in a lot of places, they're all Indian. They're all Indian chefs, born, bred, work here. You don't need to go out of the country to have the best Indian food.
Thank you
Very
so
good
much.
questions.
Yeah.
Very good.
Absolute
Well
pleasure.
done, George.